Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bista Buzz. My name is Todd Sellers.
And I'm Christina Barea.
And today we'll be talking about some of the common questions that we get from customers that want to talk about ERP solutions of implementation with Bista, some of those common factors.
Yeah, most people that have the initial phone call have a lot of questions that we hear repeatedly, such as, are you able to handle my particular request? Is my business too small? Is my business too big? Do you work in this market? Things like that. What services do you offer? And the ever-present, how much is it going to cost?
Right. And we get an array of those type of questions that come through, like full implementation, do you do one-offs, those type of things.
Yeah.
And we'd like to talk about that today with you guys. So we'll go right into some of the things and key things that we would like to ask customers when they do call in to set the right, proper expectation. So Christina, let's kind of talk about the full implementation of walking a customer through that process when they do contact us.
Sure. So, the most common scenario, I guess, that you would see in an ERP implementation specialist such as Bista is the full project scenario. And this is from beginning to end. We're either bringing somebody onto ERP for the first time, they have paper and pencil, or they're a new business and they don't have an ERP in place right now, and or they're updating a system into a new software, and so we can do it from very beginning. In this scenario, we would start with a business consultation. We understand what the business does. We understand what the 5-year and 10-year goal is of the business, and then we begin to work both as an expert in the software environment, but as a business consultant as well, helping them design a process that the software is going to support to carry them towards those goals that they have in the short term and in the long term. So it will cover many areas of the business, from accounting and finance, controlling, all the way to, if it's pertinent, depending on the type of business, inventory, or it could be supply chain management, warehouse management, it could be employees, it can be e-commerce if they have any type of sales point through the internet, and it could be manufacturing if they're bringing in raw materials and converting them into finished products. We can also have, we have a variety of different scenarios. So full project implementation works with these to bring them into an entire ERP system that brings all of the workflow into one single dashboard.
Correct. And then that takes, within that consultation, a lot of meetings going back and forth. We set the proper expectations of getting their team involved, our team involved, through that whole scope of deliverables, things that we are looking to do within that whole.
Yeah, we need to identify the KPIs of the particular project, what's needing to be delivered, and what the timeline is of that project. And then, of course, like I said, the budget is important as well. So in full project implementation, it's a full scope from beginning to end. We ask a lot of questions. And of course, in timeline and delivery, these tend to take a lot longer. Full projects, if it's a new business that's fairly simple, maybe as short as 3 months, but it can be as much up to 10 months, 12 months, depending on the size of the business.
And one thing we like to encourage our customers as well, they do call in, even though we give them the full scope of that full implementation, there may be some one-offs that they may want to start off with.
Absolutely.
That may be in phases. So customers, even though we give you that full implementation, we don't hold you to that. If there is phases that you like to take with us, we can actually take those phases with you and explore and show you what we can do for you through your business. You might elaborate on that?
Absolutely, yeah. So one-off implementation is, let's say, this is common in a company that's new to us and is wanting to test out the waters and see what the capacity is and how the engagement process would work. So we start out with a very specific deliverable. So it might be just a connector bringing into a credit card payment onto the ERP, or it could be just a particular EDI process. It could be there are a variety of different things. It's just a very migration. It's a very specific thing that we're going to deliver, typically in a shorter time frame and at a fixed budget, typically, because we We already know what we're going to be doing, and so all of the SOW, the scope of work, is well defined before we begin. And so one-off implementation is something we can do, and those can be, like we said, it can be very small, so it could be something that's as low as a couple $1,000s, and the one-off it could be even up into several $1,000s. It just depends on what the nature of that is. But we can do, I guess you could call it like an isolated implementation or a customization or a development that does not necessarily depend upon implementation of a full software. It's just a single point of focus.
Right, because we do realize that customers are spending, a lot of their budgeted hard dollars towards these projects. So we understand if it's a first-time engagement with us at Bista, and make for comfortability.
Yeah, we want to earn their trust.
We earn their trust. We
Yes.
we totally understand that. So by understanding that, what Christina just mentioned and talked about, the one-offs, that's an area we can build that trust together and be able to talk about the phases in the total full implementation scope of going down the road and hopefully establishing a long-term relationship with our customers as well.
Yes.
And like you just mentioned, sometimes that may even go into like an MSA. Can you like speak about that, because we have customers and if they don't do a one-off, they may go into like an MSA situation.
Yes. Yeah, so an MSA is a master services agreement, and in this particular scenario, it's a little more interesting. In this case, as opposed to the one-off implementation in an MSA, we might not know what the scope is.
Correct.
We're still working on defining those parameters and those KPIs, and there's perhaps a more consultative approach to this, where the customer wants to have Bista as the touch point for any type of software consulting or development or implementation or customization. And so what that means in the master services is we usually have a defined period of time, like a year, where the customer is saying that for this amount of time we're going to work with Bista Solutions for our software needs. And typically in an MSA, we divulge our rate card, which is the rate that we charge per hour for our different resources to develop and implement these particular projects. And so over the course of time, we might be doing different things as they come up and as the company identifies that they have needs for. And the MSA just basically says, we have already discussed what the terms are, and we have an agreement, we know how it's going to work, we know what the rate is going to be, and everything is good, and so let's just jump in and start figuring out what we're gonna do next. I actually think MSAs are a great option.
I do too. Like you said, sometimes really don't know what the full scope is, but it gives us a chance at this to kind of look into your whole project and identify what areas we could
Yeah. The benefit of the MSA, and typically when we position the MSA to a prospect, is that in an MSA, because you know what the rate card is, you actually have more control over your project.
Correct.
Because you'll know what the scope of work is, and we'll give you estimates ahead of time, and you get approval, so you'll already know before the work begins approximately how much investment you're looking at in that particular work that's going to be done.
That's true. Now, how is that leading to staff augmentation?
Okay, so in the scenario of staff augmentation, that's another interesting one. So we do work as silent subcontractors for other companies that do ERP implementation. Of course, according to NDAs, we can't talk about that.
Right.
But our skill set, you can come to Bista Solutions, and if there's a skill set that you need, you gained a ton of projects all of a sudden, and your particular capacity has reached its maximum, but you don't want to turn any business down, you can always reach out to Bista Solutions for a reliable partner to help you develop and deliver those projects on time and within your budget as a staff augmentation. In addition, another spin-off on staff augmentation is not only as a subcontractor, but also as if you have one of our key software implemented at your workplace, but you need somebody on site to take care of it and to maintain the systems and to do any type of development work, we can place somebody on site as a staff augmentation. They're still a Bista employee, so it's our responsibility, but we bill them out to that person or that company on a per hour basis. And so usually, again, it's on a defined timeline, but it can also be just kind of ad hoc until we reach the end of the agreement.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a couple things when the phone rings here at Bista, we get from customers that we like to, have like a whitelist of information, things that we like to know and receive from customers so we can actually get a real good scope of what the customer's looking for. So whitelist is one of the things that we're looking for. And that information is getting information from the customers, even though we take information from the customers. We would like to get that information emailed to us because sometimes that can be construed sometimes, information. We want to make sure we get it to our pre-sales team and making sure that's the right information.
Well, the whitelist is basically the summary of what the customer is wanting to achieve with the engagement with Bista. So we'd like to get it in their words because sometimes, like as you said, languages can be misinterpreted or gets lost in the different way people understand information. So when a whitelist is sent over by email from the customer, we feel like we have a better way of understanding what the requirements are, and gives the customer the opportunity to express it in their language. And it doesn't have to be technical. We just want to hear it straight from them what they're looking for. The whitelist helps us to understand what the scope of the project looks like, what type of resources we are needing to have in place in order to deliver. It also helps us to get an estimate on how much time it's going to take to deliver the requirements and so on. And then, as you pointed out, the whitelist does get passed on to our pre-sales team. Our techno-functional consultants will also look at a whitelist to help us determine if there's any hardware or server requirements that need to be addressed before we can move forward, as well as any type of software versions that might be a problem, etc. So the whitelist really does help us to identify the key points of the project to then understand how we can engage with the customer and help them.
Right, and depending on full implementation or even one-offs or so, key personnel is important too, is another factor.
For sure. So we need to know who is the right person to be talking with at the company, with the customer's place. So for different techno-functional requirements within a project, we need to know the stakeholders that are the most appropriate to speak with so that we can develop and we can proceed according to the requirements and what the customer is looking for.
Right, right. And one of the other requirements we like is that it's like a timeline. So some customers say, hey, can I get this done within 3 weeks, or can I get it done in 4 weeks, or I need this now, or a month or so. So that's very important for us as well. Yeah,
that helps us to decide or to determine how many resources we can put on a project, or if we need to move at a more aggressive pace, or if we can move at a more comfortable, slower pace. We do a combination of agile and waterfall methodology, so we do, regardless, work with sprints and calendars of events to deliver a project, so that's not a concern. But in areas, sometimes you can have multiple developers on a single requirement that can accelerate the time to completion.
Correct.
Versus maybe having 1 or 2 developers on it, which can take a longer period of time. So if it's critical for the customer to have their project completed and go live by a certain date, we need to know that so that we can try to throttle our resources accordingly.
Correct, correct.
Which also eventually has an impact on that most important question, which is how much is it going to cost the budget?
So,
right.
As we've talked about the full implementation, we talked about one-offs, we talked about, MSA, we're here to help. We're not just putting you in a situation to say, hey, it has to be a full implementation. So within that, we just like our customers to be a little more open with us as we go through this consultation process. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure you're spending your dollars correctly. But we need to know how much is the budget. Do you have a budget? Give us an idea what we can work with. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely, and it's actually a really important part of the project. We've been in scenarios where a business owner or the person who approaches us is very open about the resources internally that they have available to deliver the project, and that really helps us to understand what we're working with. That's our best case scenario.
Sure.
Bista Solutions prides itself on being an ethical company in that we will deliver requirements and cost of a project based on what it actually costs to get it done.
Correct.
So even if somebody says I have, an unlimited budget, it doesn't mean that the rate of the cost of the project is going to be 5 times more.
Right.
I mean, we don't do that. So one thing that it really helps us is when we have the opportunity to have that conversation with a business owner, have you set aside a budget, because what we don't want to see happen is sometimes when we shy away from the conversation of budget, and then we're 2-3 weeks into a conversation about development and deliverables, and we've got a proposal out, and then the proposal goes out at a number, and the business owner says, I don't have anything near that available in my budget to do the project. And so then, it helps us to set proper expectations from the very beginning so that we're maximizing the time that we spend together.
Yeah, and not only that, if the customers are on a very strict time frame or timeline, it's 3 weeks or so, and we've been on the phone talking 2 weeks, if we don't know what that budget is or so, we actually waste a lot of time.
Sure.
And for the sake of Bista and our company, and the sake of the customer, which is most importantly, of meeting that timeline, I would probably advise customers to really talk about that budget, because we can help in any situation.
Sure. And on that note, I want to say that Bista Solutions does deliver projects across the globe. So we're present in every market, in every continent, and we're happy to provide support and services to all of our global community. And so we are sensitive to localization based on requirements for the project and or technological capacities in that particular region, and of course, because of that, the budget that might be available for our customers. So I do want to just say that, because we are sensitive of working with a global community, we do have the ability to adapt to the requirements that are present in a particular location. And so budget is always something that comes up. But I hope that through this conversation, it helps our business owners and prospects to understand that we're not just a single point of focus and not just one methodology, but that we can adapt and conform to different requirements in different scenarios, and we're actually happy to do so.
Yeah.
We write custom software all day long,
All day.
and so that requires a very open mind and ability to adapt and mold and shape very quickly into different scenarios, and we do that not only through the code that we deliver, but through the way that we engage with our customers, and I think that's the essence of the message that we'd like to deliver today is basically let us know how we can help you, and let's find a way to make it happen.
She said it all. That is so correct. As we're going through a consultative approach, we're being very transparent of what we can do to help, and we appreciate it. We can get that on you guys in as well. Well, hey, you know what? This was very, very informative.
I think so too.
I think so too.
Thanks, Todd.
Well, hey, thank you, Christina. And we thank you as well for another episode of Bista Buzz. My name is Todd Sellers.
And I'm Christina Barea.
And
Thanks for joining us.
thanks for joining.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.